Hi everyone, my name's Sophia,
My name is Hank.
and welcome to You Know Me So Well. We actually ended up recording this episode before our podcast was out, but I don't know. I think we just decided we didn't like it, but we wanted to do it eventually. And so many months later, we are finally redoing this episode, and it should air this time. So if you're listening to this, know that we finally liked the way that we approached it. So today we are talking about social media. I'm going to guess that the majority of the people who are listening right now use social media in some way or the other. I feel like, especially in our generation, social media is just so big. It literally consumes our lives. I feel like our lives are like we live on social media for the most part. And that can be a good and a bad thing. And so today we're going to be talking a little bit about, the goods and the bads, but also like to just offer some perspective for people, because I feel like many times we get on social media and we sort of forget the reality of it and we get caught up in it, and it ends up being kind of damaging to our self-worth, self-esteem, confidence. It also sort of skews how we are as people and stuff like that. And so we're taking a step back and thinking about what social media actually is, like what the reality of it is.
So I think social media, it's always kind of been a thing, but I think in the last few years, especially, social media has caught a lot of flack, and deservedly so, for being, very fake, and, nothing that people ever post on there is really real, or there's always more behind the camera that you don't know, but everyone tries to make their life seem so perfect and everything, and things like that. And that's definitely true. I think especially on apps like Instagram and like TikTok and everything, like people try to make their lives look so perfect when in reality they're just not. Like you hear the stereotype of people who will go on vacation. They'll go on like some big trip, multiple places, and then they'll take pictures at all those places and then post them like throughout the year, acting as though they're in that place right now, even though they like were only in that place for like a week and it was 6 months ago and everything like that. So I think if you're going to use social media a lot, that's definitely something to be aware of, especially those apps. Nothing you ever really see on social media is 100% real. There's always more to it. And if you're unable to do that, like unable to kind of realize that can make using social media kind of tough. But social media is almost like a reality TV show to an extent. Like, nothing is ever real. I know I've said that like a million times already in this episode, but it's not. But with that being said, I mean, there's still a lot of positives of social media as well. Like, I think one of the biggest things for me is you can find your own little communities of people who like the same thing you do. Like, I do that a lot, especially on like Twitter, and I know it's embarrassing, but I use Reddit a lot. And it's like, a lot of people have these niche little interests, and they don't really have anyone to talk to those things about in real life, but you can go online and you can find whole communities of these people who all like the same thing you do and all want to talk about it like all day long. And that's actually a really cool thing to be able to have. And then you also have like I was talking about, you can meet new people. You can, like, if you use like LinkedIn, you can network. A lot of LinkedIn is fake as well. Not fake, but just like, it doesn't feel 100% real. But anyways, you can still meet a lot of people if you do like artistic things. You can find people to collab with. You can network with people. And then you also have like, you can always learn new things on social media as well. Like, there's a million different people you can reach out for certain things. And so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of negatives and drawbacks to social media in general. But it's all about how you use it, I think. Like, as long as you are able to differentiate from what's real and what's fake and kind of use it how you want to use it and not get caught up in everything, I think you can do it perfectly fine. But yeah, I mean, you need to know the benefits and the big risks of using social media when you do it.
Okay, so very similarly to Hank, my main takeaway for this episode is social media is fake. People are posting their best moments and their best moments only. I think very few people are willing to break from the norm and post casually. And I think the best way to think about it is like, think about yourself. Think about what you post on social media. Like, at least for me, and I can suspect for a lot of people too, like I take pictures, or like someone takes pictures of me and they send it to me. Then I scroll through those pictures like 100 times. I like consult different people. I ask them where I look best. I like go back and forth. Then I start looking at the pictures for too long and I'm like, wait, now I look really bad. Like it's this whole cycle. And then after spending so much time like picking out the best pictures I have, then I post them. And the reality is like, no, I don't usually look like that. No, my life isn't usually that exciting. Like a lot of effort went into these pictures and it's not happening on a daily basis. And so, yeah, if you were to take a picture of me right now, like there's going to be a discrepancy, you know, like I don't always look amazing. So yeah, and I think this just like really spans across all platforms. Like Hank said, I think the biggest ones, yeah, like Instagram, TikTok. TikTok is just an interesting app in general.
TikTok used to just be an app where people would just dance.
Yeah, no, I know. It's become like so there. It's become so hardcore. Snapchat too, you know, Snapchat stories and stuff like that. I know people have made it more casual with like private stories and all that, but still, like I think about what I post, you know, like especially on my main story, like I might take that picture a couple of times before I decide I'm going to actually like share it. So yeah, I think the other thing is at times we post for validation, maybe not necessarily for guys, but I know for girls, like there's just times where you post for validation. You know, you have a good picture, it's been sitting in your camera roll, you want to like get some attention or you want to feel good about yourself, you post it. I've done this so many times. And this is like a really risky behavior because many times when we post for validation, we're either posting it from attention from people, like a general audience that we have, or we're trying to get attention from a certain person. So like maybe you like someone and you are hoping that they'll swipe up on your story or they'll comment on your picture or something. And sometimes that just doesn't happen. And sort of like you're quite literally inflicting self-harm on yourself because like you've probably done this before. You've probably not gotten the results you wanted. It's probably made you upset. Even if you do get like good results, I feel like there's always something to nitpick on and to feel bad about. And so, yeah, that can definitely like bruise your self-esteem or confidence. So I think my best tip for that is it's important to feel secure in yourself and your life before publicizing it on social media. You never know how people are going to react. You never know what people are going to say, especially like, sure, maybe you're posting just for friends, but what if it reaches a larger audience and now you have people who don't know you and they just feel the need to comment, even if it's not like a positive comment. This is so common on social media these days where it's like there's a lot of like negative comments towards people without like any background on the person. There's a lot of harassment on social media too. And so, yeah, I think and I mean, I can definitely take this advice myself, but I think if you're posting, like you need to feel secure in yourself and your life so that if someone is going to say something negative, that's not going to affect you. Because I actually kind of went through a situation where I was sort of getting harassed on TikTok a couple months ago. And it was so damaging to my mental health because I couldn't do anything about these comments. I couldn't figure out like who was commenting it. That's the other thing. With social media, like people can so easily hide behind their screens and a lot of people do that. A lot of people have a lot of negativity in them and many times it's like it has really nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. Their lives are not going as they want it to. And they need to hate on people. Like it's usually that negative energy is coming from within them. It has nothing to do with you, but people love to take it out on other people. No one wants to deal with their own negativity, right? So social media is the perfect place to do that because they can hide behind a screen and there aren't really any consequences for it, you know? And so, yeah, I was in a situation where I was getting like kind of hardcore harassed by some random person, had no clue who they were. And it really did take a toll on my mental health. And so while I dealt with the situation as it occurred and I'm, you know, fine now, I will say I think like if you're going to be posting on social media, you need to do it A, for yourself, not for other people, and B, you need to feel secure in yourself and also what you're posting so that like no comments are going to disrupt how you feel about yourself or what you posted or, you know, your life or whatever it is. I think also post as you please. Don't spend too much time thinking about how other people are going to react to what you post. Like I said, I spend a lot of time like thinking about it, as I'm sure many people do. And I just feel like I would love for social media to be a little bit more casual. I know that's like a big ask, but I think it takes just like, like I've had many moments where I've gone through my camera roll and I'm like, oh wait, I actually really like this picture. Like, why didn't I post it? And it's from like a year ago. And it's like, I have no point of posting it now, but I'm sure I considered posting it and then decided not to, So like post as you please. Don't think too much about like what other people are going to say. I think also don't like interact with it too much. I think posting should really be like for fun, and you post, you put it out there, maybe you interact with people like who comment on your post, especially if it's like friends and stuff like that, friends or family, but don't like take it too seriously, because I think a lot of people will like they put a ton of effort into social media and they take it super seriously, and that's when like it starts to sort of like it can go wrong then, because when you have a lot of expectations for something and then things don't go as you expected it, like it starts to kind of take a hit to your self-esteem or your confidence or whatever it is. So yeah, that is sort of my take on sort of the more negative aspects of social media. I wish that honestly, like saying these stuff makes me realize that I should maybe just not post on social media, period. Like I should advise everyone to just like get off social media. But I realize like it's easier said than done. I think I've definitely had moments in my life where I was like, I'm done with this app. Like I'm not going to use it anymore. But again, like our lives are so integrated into social media, and many times like people very heavily rely on it to get themselves places or to interact with certain people or to like stay connected. And so yeah, like I said, it's easier said than done. And I think also just like like it's one of those things that I think a lot of people want to conform to. And I'm not saying conforming is necessarily good, but I think that it's one of those things where it's like people would rather conform to it than give it up, even if they know that there's more benefit to giving it up. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, And then I want to talk about apps such as BeReal, which are trying to counteract the whole fakeness of social media. I honestly think they're just as bad. My opinion, you can come at me for it, but like I legitimately think they're just as bad. First off, I feel like people spend so much time thinking about when it's going to go off, hoping that it'll go off when their day looks the best, and then are disappointed when it doesn't. I've had this moment before where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am currently at the beach and the sun is shining and I look so good, and like, why can't BeReal go off right now, because I'm not going to post on other social platforms. Like I'm just casually living right now. I don't want to post on like Instagram or, TikTok or something like that, because that would be a lot less casual. But BeReal doesn't go off. And then BeReal goes off while I'm sitting in my bed at like 9 p.m. ready to go to bed, and it's like, why? I've definitely seen the people who like will post their BeReal and then caption it with, I had such a fun day today, why did it have to go off now, or something like that. So I think that there is a lot of anger with that kind of stuff, and it makes people think a lot about the app, which like I guess is good for the creators of the app or whatever, but for your mental sanity, maybe not so great. The other thing is people still choose to be fake on the app by posting when they want. I think, again, like I get what the creators were trying to do when they created the app. The thing is, people are so used to having that like non-casual form of social media in their life that I think they're still sort of like, it's hard to sort of destigmatize the whole like not being perfect at all times, especially if you're sharing it to other people. And like, yeah, BeReal, it's like you're sharing, like it's your friends, it's people usually, like it's supposed to be very casual and everything, but like I just feel like it still isn't. Like people are not like fully catching on to the whole thing, like people are still like retaking their BeReals because they're like, I look bad in that, or like waiting to take it when like their day looks really exciting, like there's still a lot of fakeness on the app. And then also everyone's lives look different, and it's easy to compare your life to your friends or quote unquote friends that you have on the app, especially if your friends seem to always be doing something fun when they post on the app. I've definitely like scrolled through Be Real and always wondered like how certain people always are doing something when they post. Like they always are hanging out with friends or they're doing something exciting. And I'm like, how do you always have something like every single day? Because my life doesn't look like that. And I'm fine with it. Like I don't feel that there's any like inherent problem with my life not looking like theirs. But then when I see their content like every single day, I'm like, I feel like I'm living life wrong, you know? And so I think that kind of comes back to like being secure in your own life. Like if you're posting, you need to feel secure in your life and not worry too much about what other people are doing with their lives. Anyways, those are my thoughts on social media, specifically the risks and negative aspects of social media.
I mean, I think that's all very fair to say. You have anything positive to say?
Okay. Now I'm transitioning to the positive. Okay. But obviously, like, I think at the end of the day, social media is here for a reason. The founders who created it probably weren't thinking about people getting harassed on their app, you know? I mean, I know, like, there's certain apps where it's like, they really, like, I know Twitter is not the greatest place for anti-harassment, but
all depends how you use it.
Anyways, the point is, I don't think any of the founders were like, yes, I'm going to create this great app where people like get harassed and hate themselves on and like only post their best moments, blah, blah, right? So I think when you really think about it, like, yeah, social media does have a lot of benefits and that's why it's around and so popular and also why it was like each app was created in the first place. Social media is a fantastic way to stay in touch with people. I feel like as you grow up, you know, people sort of come and go in your life. And I feel like people have a hard time like genuinely staying in touch with each other, meaning like texting each other or like, I don't know, back in the olden days, like sending an email or a letter or whatever it is. Like, I don't know what people did. But like the point is like, it's a lot harder to stay in touch with people, especially like a variety of different people through like messaging apps and stuff like that. But with social media, like you have the ability to keep up with what, you know, people of your past or your friends who live in other places are doing. And so you always kind of know, like, oh, this is what they're up to right now. Like, this is what they're doing. You know, this is what their life looks like or whatever they decide to share. And it's the same thing with like you. Like, if you share things on your social media, like, or on social media apps, like people that you know get to see what you're doing with your life. And I think that's really cool. I feel like it's definitely come in handy for me at times because yeah, at this point in my life, I've gone through so many different friends and classmates and, you know, stuff like that. And it's a great way to keep in touch and just to know what they're up to and to see how they've changed over the years and what their lives look like now and what they're up to. It also allows you to meet and connect with people. I think this is really, really cool. Best story I have for this is when I got into college, I created this TikTok. And it was this TikTok where I was like showing what schools I applied to and like whether I got accepted, waitlisted, or rejected from those schools. And the TikTok ended up getting a decent amount of views. I think it's probably like at 200,000 views now and 12K likes and stuff like that. And I had a lot of people comment on it, share their opinions. You know, I had people from like some of the schools that I got accepted to comment on it and advised me to go to their school, blah, blah. But the one really cool thing that came, I mean, obviously it was super cool, like having this like TikTok blow up and having all these random people like comment on my whole thing. But one of the coolest things that came out of it is there was this girl who commented on my TikTok and she was between the same two schools that I was. And I was under the impression that she had chosen the other school, the school I wasn't going to go to, but she actually ended up choosing the same school as me. And then, you know, like I added her on, off of that, I added her on Snapchat and we started talking. Turns out she lived like an hour and a half away from me. And we ended up becoming really good friends. Before school started, I stayed with her at her house for a couple of days and like, you know, we hung out and showed me around and all that. And then yeah, like I met her a couple of times and all that. And like, I probably would have never met her if it hadn't been for that. Another thing is actually really funny story. A couple of months ago, I was looking at my Instagram DM requests and I saw this like weird DM and I was like, what in the world is this? Turns out it was my nanny from when I was like between the ages of like 7 months and 4 years old, who I hadn't heard from in years, reaching out to me. I guess she had found me on social media and messaged me and was asking me like how I was and how my family was and, you know, the whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what are the chances that I had ever heard from her again? Like who would have known? So yeah, there's a lot of really, like you can just meet so many different people. Same thing with like networking, like as Hank was saying, like networking, or, you know, like if you're in the artistic space, like meeting people that you can collaborate with, like the opportunities are endless. They really are with that. And then lastly, Hank also said this, but it can provide people with a community or an audience that they wouldn't have otherwise. First off, with the rise of influencers and stuff like that, there are so many people out there who have been able to make a whole career off of social media, which is really amazing, because I think a lot of them usually like, you know, share that it was like a big like come up story. So that's really cool. Another thing is it provides people with an audience that they most likely wouldn't have like in their normal lives. You know, there are a lot of people who are in very like niche areas, and you know, when you're like living your life and you're surrounded by people physically, like the likelihood of finding people who will relate to you can be quite difficult. But when you have like the internet at your hand and millions and billions of people like who can see you, it's so much easier to find people who kind of like share that niche interest and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. And then lastly, social media is really great for product development and the marketing of products and stuff like that. I personally have been a social media intern for quite a few companies, and I have firsthand seen what social media can do for small companies, startups, you know, companies that maybe wouldn't have gotten much traction, maybe would be out of business at this point, that have been able to create a very sustainable business that is, you know, has a huge audience and a large amount of consumers and stuff like that. And I think it also helps match people to items that they may be interested in or things that are like really help them. You know, there's so many different like devices and products that are made to like help people in their day-to-day life. And sometimes, you know, you may not find it. Like it may not just be like in front of your eyes when you're living your life, but on social media, it's quite easy to find these stuff. I don't know. That doesn't make much sense. But the point is like social media marketing is like a really incredible thing. And yeah, you can do a lot with it. So anyways, that's my benefits for social media, but I feel like you knew that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like a lot of this stuff people know, but also just kind of ignore sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think like one big thing is sometimes we fail to take advantage of this really great resource. I know, like, I could probably do better with like networking or...
Yeah, and I think people, you know, also will kind of ignore the fact that social media is, you know, not really 100% real. You know, they'll see things and they'll go say that their life isn't looking like that, but the person who posted it life doesn't look like that, you know?
Yeah, don't let yourself get too caught up in what other people's lives look like. Like, you never know the full story. Very few people are willing to be open and honest about what they're going through. And so, you know, you just don't know. And I also feel like sometimes you like see certain people on social media and you see their really great lives and all of a sudden they post something and you're like, wait a minute, I had no clue that they were going through this or that this was something that they had been dealing with in their life. Yeah. And that really puts it into perspective as to like the fakeness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the other amazing thing is like, if you're listening to this podcast and the way that you found it was through one of our social media pages, like, there you go.
Yeah, that's also very cool.
Yeah, like, I think that our ability to reach a greater audience is very dependent on social media, because I know we have our family and friends like listening to this podcast, but I'm sure there are also quite a few people out there who don't know us personally and are listening to our podcast, and that was made possible through the power of social media.
Yeah.
Is that it from us?
I think so.
Yep. Anyways, on that note, you should go follow our social channels. I'm not going to list them all, but we have our link tree in our description, I think.
Yeah.
So it's all on there. Also check out our YouTube channel. And yeah, I think that's about it for us.
I think that's it.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.